Taxes was feeling so stuck. Sitting in traffic, squeezing into a parking spot, all to squeeze in getting tax help during your lunch break. Now Taxes is a TurboTax expert who does your taxes for you, while you go about your day getting real-time notifications about their progress and the most money back guaranteed. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service, real-time updates only in iOS mobile apps. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Sackheads Radio.
Sackheads Radio.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
Welcome to the Sackheads Radio Show for the February 3rd, 2015 show. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thank you to the exceptional one himself, Ken McClinton, for handing us off. We truly appreciate it. How are you, buddy?
Great.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a live studio audience tonight.
Yeah, well,
really.
you know,
they're in their own homes. So we thank you for listening.
We thank you so much for listening from
And,
home.
you know, they allowed us the opportunity to tap into all of their webcams and so forth at home, so we were able to get that live applause from everybody.
Well, you know, and
so
it's,
that's good.
Some of the things you see on those webcams aren't great. I really thought...
well, the one in your house, no. That
Right.
was because of, you know...
Right, what it was. And I understand
Right.
that. And that was accidental.
No, it wasn't.
It
You
kinda
turned
was.
around and gave a thumbs up to the camera while it was happening.
We do have a great show lined up for you this evening. So much to talk about. But let's get a few things out of the way first.
Yes.
Go
Congratulations.
Patriots. Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you very much.
Yep.
Much to the chagrin of everybody in the greater Northwest.
Not to me.
No, Northwest, not us.
Oh, okay.
We're in the Central West. The Patriots won the Super Bowl, so, you know.
Did they?
I was pretty drunk Sunday.
I didn't even watch the game.
Really?
Yeah, I
Sacco.
didn't care one way or another.
Yeah, I was in Vegas.
Oh.
Yeah. Quit. No, hey, stop bragging.
Oh, okay.
I know, right?
Actually, what was great, though, is Sacco was actually advancing our trip.
Exactly. Sacco
in
was scouting
July.
this week.
Yeah.
He was on the advanced team. He saw where we were going to go and made sure we're getting ready. So we're excited about Freedom Fest July 2015.
By advancing, they mean I took all of our last funds and gambled it away, and I came up. I was impressed.
Oh, I'm impressed. Did
What are you wearing?
What
is that on your head?
This is called a bee knee.
You are the bee's
It's
knees.
the bee's knees.
It is the
Brother,
bee's
right
knees.
there. It is, huh?
That looks good on you.
It does.
Thanks.
I think you should go with that more. You should do the full-faced one. No, actually, that probably wouldn't turn out well.
That last time that did not turn
Yeah,
out well.
exactly. You're a little too hairy to pull that off. The FBI was called. It was uncomfortable for everybody, really. But I'm just glad.
I thought it was funny. It was not uncomfortable
Well,
for me in the least.
You're the one that called the FBI. That's
Listen,
Those
we don't need to
handcuffs
be
are not
pointing
fun.
fingers right now, okay? About how that whole thing went down.
Well, yeah, no, that's a good point. We shouldn't point fingers. You know.
And what's funny is Sacco still does things when we dare him.
A little too much liquor will get me to do anything.
What for Sacco? That's like 2 Zimas.
Right. that's like 2 near beers.
2 near beers. I have to say,
2
though,
old
You
Milwaukee's.
guys are really old because I don't know what that is. I expect it to be like some old beer, like back when you were
man.
2.
Zima's still huge in Japan, and that's all that counts.
So am I.
You are as well. Oh, man.
I am.
Oh. Well, you're very tall. Vegas.
I do prefer buff.
I am excited. Yes.
I found a new favorite beer.
What's that?
1554.
I heard that. You were actually telling me about that last week.
I was.
Is that good?
It is.
Oh, see that?
Yeah, it's a
Did
black
you
lager.
bring any here?
It's good.
No.
No, Sacco.
No,
Come on,
he
guys.
didn't.
I did not.
You know what, Sacco? I'm getting a little uncomfortable with you just coming in the studio and drinking all night.
You know,
And I'm getting a little uncomfortable with you just coming on in and breaking in on the microphone. I'm not going to lie.
you're right. You're right. I'm going back. You won't hear from me.
Well, you know what? I get to complain because neither.
Oh, Sacco's.
Oh, he's got boo-boo face.
Dude, I'm sorry. I love you, Sacco. I love it when you cut in. It takes the heat off of Sean.
Yeah, well, especially because you guys both bailed on me last week. You were sick, and you were in Vegas. And unfortunately, if it wasn't for the exceptional one, I probably never would have made it through. It was so I greatly appreciate Ken helping me out last week. Though there was something in my mic that I had last week, and I don't know what the setting was, but apparently I had a little bit of a godlike echo.
Oh,
You
my
always
job's
have
easy,
that
right,
God.
Sean?
You always have
Just,
that God complex, though.
You know, you think I just come back here and turn things on and walk away? No.
Well, that's usually what you do, though. Usually you turn things on and then bury your head.
Hang on a second.
What?
So we had a conversation earlier about what time we were going to meet up for pre-show prep. And by the way, I called it.
Yes.
I nailed it.
I know.
Tonight.
Right. I know.
And so, hey, Sean, what time do you want to meet pre-show prep? And we had a time. I said, okay, is Sacco coming? Yeah, Sacco actually said he's going to be there early tonight.
I came early.
And I said, hang on. I said, early for Sacco is 7:45, walking in the studio. And what time did he come strolling in?
7:42. 7:42, ladies and gentlemen.
I completely nailed it. And I just want to point that out to everybody.
I came early and I got things done.
Because I said, usually Sacco rolls in at like 3 minutes till, right, and gets everything set.
I planned it. Sean said, hey, come in early because I messed the setup. I said, okay.
I did.
That's not a big deal. You know, I'll get it done in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Came here.
No, you were right.
I got
you
it
were
done in
right.
5 minutes. Hattie said, hey, come in early because there's like 45 pieces of paper we need to sign for this new thing. I would have came in probably half.
We
hour.
took care of it, though, Sacco.
Your job is going to get difficult soon, though.
It actually is going to get very
You
difficult.
have a whole bunch of new software. to
And you
learn.
don't even know what's
I'm putting
coming
my
because
2
we
weeks
talked
in.
about it today. That's the bad part about being part of the owner. You can't do that.
put in your 2 weeks.
Right. And I'm not buying you out, and I know Sean isn't either, so you're pretty much stuck.
Yeah.
I'll just give it to you.
You have to put it.
Here, just take it.
No, there's a nominal value. We'll take.
No,
you, we'll
there's
take
a-
you to court over it.
There's a whole thing.
We'll take you to
Wait,
court to force
but-
you to be involved.
But can we? Because don't we need his vote per our charter bylaws?
He'd vote for it. Soccer, wouldn't you vote for that? That just shows how much we love you. We don't want you to leave.
I'm not voting for
We
any
could
of that.
say he voted for it.
We
Who would
could.
know?
Right. It was taken at absentia
Right.
because of his raging alcoholism.
Which he admits to openly on the air.
I do. I drink a lot. I don't think you understand. I live with 4 guys.
I know.
No, but now hang on a second. And we applaud your lifestyle, nor do we judge. And that's okay. And it just shows the diversity we have on this show.
That's right.
And the fact that we agree that people have the right to make their choices. And
Right.
we appreciate the fact that, you took the webcam down.
Right.
And that was great. So it actually does well that
Wait, you
you
didn't-
have
hold on, back
that
up.
lifestyle.
Hold on.
I want to see what the trigger for the backup was.
I know,
No, let him
because
talk. Let
it
him
wasn't-
talk.
it wasn't the
None
whole
of that
thing
was good.
leading up to
It was
it.
one specific thing. What triggered the
You
backup?
didn't like the webcam?
Oh, man. I'm not saying it wasn't appreciated, but I didn't realize that you could do 3Ds on webcams now, and it was just a little bizarre.
Well, yeah, no, 4Ds, right? Because you said he lived with 4 guys.
No.
Yeah.
That's not what you were talking about.
No, it's something totally
Oh,
different.
I'm sorry, I
Moving right
misunderstood.
along.
Wow. It's 5 including.
Sacco's got skills.
Sometimes I have to control it, so it's 4Ds. It could be 5. Sometimes 6. I don't know where that last one comes out of, but every time.
Oh, and 8:10, your mic goes off. So, I love it for one.
45
Sacco made it
seconds.
worse.
Right.
That's the first time ever that Sacco has actually made. I have 45
Well, hang on a
seconds.
second.
What?
He was speaking the truth. So what do you mean making it worse?
Well,
We don't
okay.
listen.
All right.
We don't judge on this show.
We don't. We
Okay.
don't.
So I don't appreciate that.
Actually, we
comment.
judge a lot on this show. I'm not going to lie.
We do. We do.
Quite a bit, as a
Quite
matter
a
of
bit.
fact. Well, thank you guys both for being back this week. I did miss you guys. But in the interest of affirmative action, we did have Ken co-host last week, so that was good. And,
Right.
It went well.
You know what? We need affirmative action the other direction here because we are vastly running out of
Well,
Caucasians.
I was just talking this weekend. We've been talent scouting and trying to get some more people for the network, and
Yeah, and we had a bunch of ones when we were talent scouting.
Right.
And we ended up walking out with a bunch of glitter all over us.
right.
And
That was I don't know what we were thinking about trying to find conservative talent there, but there was none to be found.
There was none
It
at all.
was-
And we tried.
Yeah,
we tried hard. We dropped a lot of the show's money.
Yeah. Yeah, we spent a lot of the show's money. It's research. I mean, it's expendable.
Absolutely.
When
We found cinnamon,
you're ballers.
right?
Yeah.
Cinnamon and Dakota and
Jamie Lynn.
they were all in med school.
Which
is weird.
Right. Well, one of them wanted to be an FBI agent.
Right. Right.
She was really going down that role. And then the old one, she just called herself Sugar. For whatever reason, was taken with Sacco. I don't know why that was, but
She was smitten.
She was, and the fact that
She paid Sacco for a
Right,
dance,
and
which
she
I
kept-
thought was pretty funny.
right, and I don't know why Sacco kept calling her mommy, but I mean, either way, they appeared to have a lovely night that night, so that was good. But so Ken, I have a whole bunch. We're all looking for different talent to try to expand the network and everything, and Ken, out of all his submissions, and he sent me some really good shows. And, he's been
But they were all his show.
just over and over and over
Right.
and over again. One of the things that, and everyone knows how hard Ken works on his show, but what they don't see is behind the scenes. Ken and Dan Butcher over on Pundit Press, which we can be heard on as well. Really, really amazing friends of the show and the network. And everybody's really putting in, we talk about it all the time. We're trying to expand it. We have new software we're working on. We're trying to make it better. And the other thing we want to do is add really good conservative talent. To the network, more options for you guys, the listeners, more for you to tune in and dial and enjoy. And it seems like Ken doesn't listen to any white shows. Maybe he does, and he just doesn't like them. I don't know why, but I'm just saying.
Wait a sec. Are you accusing our good friend of reverse racism?
No, it's not reverse. It's just racism.
Just outright. Okay.
No, but I'm not accusing him of that. But
You're just implying it.
and I'm not implying it.
Okay. You're just making an observation.
If I wrote it down, I'd be liable. But so finally today, he sends me all these different shows, and I've listened to a lot of them, and they're all actually very, very good. So that's probably the truth behind it, but we can't go that easily on the show. So he finally sends me one today, and it's a white male, and he goes, "Here's your affirmative action," and just sends it to me. I don't think he's listened to it. I think he just did a search.
Right, because he didn't say this guy's good.
Right,
Or,
'cause-
hey, check this out. He just said, well, here's your affirmative action.
Well, I just want to know why Ken would send us Rush Limbaugh like nobody's ever heard of him before.
Right.
I joke because I love.
And you know what's funny is, has he ever recommended our show? I guess he does.
Right,
on his
just not
show,
to
like
us.
a lot. But I think that's because we have a hairy little Armenian.
Right.
So he's not recommending the white guys.
Right. He's recommending.
He's
Sacco.
recommending Sacco. Matter of fact, isn't he the one that had the Save Sacco movement started?
He is still running the Save Sacco movement. As a matter of fact, he is the CEO and spokesperson for Save Sacco United. And
So I think we're on to something here.
Well, I do. Okay. All right. Good point. I'm going to take some notes here on that one. And good. I have no idea what that means, but I wrote it down.
That's a picture. That's not even a note.
Dude, I drew a hermit crab. Leave me
That
alone.
is not a hermit crab.
Oh, well, it looked like it from my angle.
Hey, do you watch Real Sports? Since you brought up the Super Bowl?
I don't watch real sports, and let me tell you why. I don't watch real sports. There's no reason why. I just don't like the show.
Oh, the show. Okay, I was going to say, you watch
No,
football.
I watch real sports.
Right.
I
Like
don't watch
not,
fake
not,
ones like soccer.
not basketball. Right. Not golf.
Nope.
Not tennis.
Nope.
Right?
I'll
But
play golf.
I'll play Frisbee golf.
Oh, that's the hippie in you coming out.
I'll play Wii golf.
Yeah, I'm awesome at Wii golf. You don't even want it. But anyhow, you asked me a question for a reason.
I did. Have you ever heard of Bryant Gumble?
Yes, I
or
know the
Bryant
Gumball. No,
or
it's Gumball. I think you have
Dumball,
it right the first time.
Dumbbell. Well,
No,
I don't.
think it's Gumball.
I don't-
Brian Gumble.
Bryant Dumbbell.
Gumball. Gumbo.
What the
Gumbo.
what? Gumbo.
Brian Gumbo.
Brian Gumbo.
Right, I got him.
It's
I know
kind of
who
like
you're
a
talking
soup, right?
He
And
used
this
to
guy
host-
and this guy is a soup sandwich. Really, I mean, he's a
right,
soup
he
sandwich.
is a soup sandwich. I remember him when he was actually did stuff. So
Do you? I don't know if he ever did stuff. How is this guy still employed? Like he's made some ridiculous comments in the past. I don't know if you remember in 2011, like October 2011, he talked about slavery when he was criticizing
Yes.
NBA Commissioner David Stern.
Yes.
About the league's lockout. And then he in was it 2000, he had an appearance by Robert Knight of the Family Research Council, and he was basically talking to Mr. Knight about who was defending the Boy Scouts policy of excluding homosexuals from being leaders within the Boy Scouts. And after the interview, he basically says, and I'm quoting him here, "What a fucking idiot."
Wow.
Yeah, anybody that disagrees with him or that he doesn't like, he makes these comments.
Wow.
How this guy
That's
still
harsh.
How this guy still that's not harsh. What's harsh is what he actually said a couple weeks ago. And there was a recent interview in Rolling Stone where he says, quote, "There are few things I hate more than the NRA. I mean, truly, I think they're pigs. I think they don't care about human life. I think they are a curse upon the American landscape."
Well, that's not at all divisive conversation. That's not even, I have a problem with the Second Amendment as it stands. That's not.
Right.
I have a problem with what the NRA does or how it.
The organization. He's talking
Right.
about the people
The members.
as a whole, calling them pigs, and that they don't care about human life. And I wonder how many of these members he's actually sat down and had a conversation with. I'm a member,
I am as well.
and I absolutely care about human life.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, I'll bet I have saved more human lives than Bryant Gumble, Dumbbell.
Gumbo.
Whatever his name is.
I think it's Gumbo.
I don't know. He's so insignificant.
No,
But why is this? Look, could you imagine if there was a conservative host that said something like that? Would this person still have a job?
No.
Not at all, right?
Or there would be so much uproar and so much criticism that he would have to issue an apology or be fired.
And before we go any further, I'm not saying this because Brian Dumbbell is black.
Is he?
I think so.
Okay. It doesn't matter.
That's not why I'm saying this. Well, I know that, right, because some of our haters are going to come. You're racist. You're just saying that because you hate him because he's black.
No, it's always about that.
No.
It can't be what the problem is.
Right.
It can't be what we're discussing. It has to be what you want it to be.
Right. I mean, we like Ken.
Yeah, we love Ken.
We love Ken.
Well, and did you? How many members do you think the NRA has?
A lot.
Rough estimate.
A lot. Millions.
Yeah. As of May 2013, so that's not even this year's. As of May 2013, over 5 million members of the NRA.
According to Bryant, they're
all of them.
All of them. They're pigs
who want
don't
people
care
to
about
die.
human life. They're a curse upon the American landscape. Every single one of them.
Mary brings up a great point in the chat room. If it wasn't for the NRA, a lot of black people would never have been allowed to have guns.
That's right.
Huge.
That's right.
Huge.
Yep. As a matter of fact,
that was one of their big first.
That was one of their when they first started. Yep.
And the history goes on and on, but that was one of their big civil rights advocacy from the beginning.
Started in 1871.
All the way back in 1871. And they made a huge push, and they took a lot of heat and fights, and really to make sure that African Americans at the time could actually arm themselves and defend themselves, as well as the nation. So they were one of the early. That's weird, right? This group, 5 million pigs, all the way back in 1871, wanted to do what all the Democrats in the South didn't want to do.
Arm the African Americans. Arm the blacks.
The literal African Americans at that time, because many of them were, and the blacks and the Americans, to make sure that they could protect themselves. Well, they must. Oh, I get it.
What?
They introduced guns into the black community so people like Al Sharpton would have something to complain about. Nope, that can't be.
No, that's not it.
Yeah, I get nothing. Why would they do that? Oh, I know, because they wanted to make sure that everybody had the same rights under the Constitution. So those evil, racist, I'll throw that in there because I bet you Bryant Gumble thinks that.
Right.
Pigs who have total and utter lack of regard for lives armed a group at the time in this country, a group of people that were repressed and forbidden from having firearms.
Yeah, look, gun control laws originally were pushed by Democrats, and they
Yes.
were pushed to keep guns out of the hands of
Don't
blacks.
change.
Nope, and this allowed the democratic policy of slavery to keep going. And after the Civil War, the Ku Klux Klan, which again was, I believe, formed primarily by Democrats
In the South.
they were able to murder African Americans.
Weird.
Weird,
They were
right?
just allowed to outright murder him. So essentially what needs to happen is somebody needed to come along and help a repressed group
Yep.
be able to defend themselves
You know what? If they
legally.
but now this is a group. But has there ever been a Republican president that helped this? Oh wait, Ulysses S. Grant. He was a Republican president,
Right.
And he pushed the Anti-Klan Act of 1871, which that's right. It made it a felony on the federal level to deprive any citizen of the United States of any arms or weapons he may have in his house or possession for the defense of his person, family, or property. That's right.
Weird.
Yeah.
Ah.
Huh. Although that section was deleted from the final bill. Weird.
Yeah, probably because it had to pass, and the Democrats in the South wouldn't pass that.
Maybe.
Weird.
Man, horrible racist Republican.
You know, it never ends with those people, and I mean Republicans.
Right.
All the way to this day in the South.
The NRA actually gave charters to African Americans who tried to defend themselves from Klan violence.
That sounds like a move to preserve life, because you're preserving the life of.
So basically, what we just did is we showed that Bryant Gumble's remarks were made out of ignorance. Gumbo.
Well, yeah, a total and utter ignorance. I mean, if you could be any more ignorant on the matter, you'd probably be the president. Now, let me tell you about some more racists in the South.
Okay.
Let's go to Hot Springs, Arkansas. Well, this isn't racist. It's people are crying prejudice about this, and it
Okay.
kind of makes me laugh. There is a young lady who her name is Jan Morgan, and she owns a rifle range, a gun range down in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and she banned Muslims from the gun range as a safety measure, stating essentially that the potential for them to be arming and training themselves with a lethal weapon to do damage and harm to other people is too great. Therefore, I am going to ban them.
This came after in September. There were two customers that came in, and she thought they were suspicious. They were acting very, very kind of surreptitious, very furtive in their movements, but their cell phone ringtones were Allah Akbar.
Oh, nothing to worry about there.
And that's
Because that's never announced just before something explodes.
and that's what caused her to change her policies. And what she said, Jan Morgan, what she said is, quote, "We are dealing in lethal firearms. I'm not going to let a Nazi shoot here or a Ku Klux Klan member in here either."
Racist. Oh, wait. You said Ku Klux Klan? They're usually white.
Right.
Nazis are usually pretty white, too.
Right.
So they're both banned. Okay. So essentially she's picking on people who may pose a legitimate threat to other people.
Right. Now,
God, why is she so prejudiced?
well, now hang on. Here's the rub. Muslim is a religion, correct?
Yes.
Ku Klux Klan is not, nor was the Nazis.
I
Although Nazis you could disagree with, right?
you could actually disagree.
You could
with
actually
the Ku
say that
Klux
was like
Klan,
an
too,
occult.
because very much kind of an occult as well. They very much hid behind false Christianity.
Yeah.
They burnt.
Look, I'm not saying I disagree with her, and I think she absolutely has the right to do it. She's a private business. And if you have Muslims in there with Allah Akbar on their ringtone,
yeah, I understand there's the slippery slope between civil rights violation. Oh, blacks can't eat here, whites can only eat here, et cetera, et cetera. I understand that's a very slippery slope, and when you brush up against it, it could create problems. But I also think that this falls in line along with bakeries who are refusing to do cakes for gay weddings, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, it's a private business.
It's a private
They can refuse.
business.
They should be able to
They have
refuse,
the right to refuse service
to
anyone
anybody
for any reason whatsoever. And once you make an infringement upon that, now, again, we've talked about this before. If you feel so strongly about one rule at a certain place, then start a petition, start a Facebook page, do what you can to get people to go. Run them out of business. Let capitalism decide.
Right.
But don't feel that the federal government has the right to step into a private business no more than it was inside your house.
Right. The Federal Civil Rights Act, though, applies to any business that is places of public accommodation or that affect interstate commerce. And so if she's a private club,
Yep.
doesn't apply.
Does not apply.
SHR is a private club.
Right. And we still let Sacco work here.
That's right.
No, and there are clubs, I can tell you right now, I was part of the Irish American Club
You can't have that.
in Massachusetts. I most certainly was. And you had to be of Irish heritage in order to be an active member inside the club. And they actually checked your genealogy.
What would happen if there was a white Christian heterosexual male club? That's a hate group, right? It's got to be.
It's got to be a hate group, without a doubt.
Just because
First
of
of all,
all of the hate words.
You're not
White,
even allowed to exist.
Christian, heterosexual, and male. Those are all hateful things.
You're not even allowed to exist in this world if you're a white Christian heterosexual male. Your very, very existence is an insult. I mean, look at everyone in the Middle East right now. What is it? What was the math we talked about on the show a couple weeks ago? 119 million Muslims who in some way support bombing or killing people across the world. So you're an insult to them because according to their book, if you're not with them, you're against them, essentially.
Wait, which book? The Little Engine That Could? Because that's a good book.
The Quran.
Oh.
And when we get back from break, when we cover Terror Bloc, I'm probably going to get angry.
We have 2 minutes left in this segment.
I know. I'm furious right now. But back to the issue at hand, which is Jan Morgan and her private gun club.
I like how you threw that out there as though it's a statement of fact. Then she could play this segment in court, right? Listen, there's a media network that deems me a private gun club.
Yeah, let's wheel them right up. Well, it's no different
We're
than
going to
if
be called
you
to
had,
testify real good.
if you had, let's say, Chinese triads, and they came in wearing all their Chinese triads tattoos. Hey, you know what? Blah, 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 blah. We're in a gang. And she's like, yeah, you can't shoot here.
First of all, I don't know any Chinese triad that says blah, 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 blah.
I'm pretty sure they do. It's part of their initiation.
I think
you'd be better off saying, I don't know if there are any Chinese triads in Arkansas. I think that's probably a closer statement of reality.
A picture of a bunch of triads going in. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah.
Oh, man. See, you know what? You're leading me down a road to make a joke.
I am. I'm setting you up.
No,
it's
I'm not
set up
do it
right there.
because it's going to come back to bite me.
And
at
you're
some
not
point.
going to say anything.
15 years from now.
No wind chime reference.
Pots and pans. Nothing.
Nothing.
15 years from now, when we own a major network and make a ton of money, I'm going to get sued because I went ba 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 back on February 3rd, 2015. We're going to be back here, folks, in 3 on the Sackheads Radio Show. Terror Bloc is next.
in a world controlled by corrupt politicians.
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
A team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying calf was stupid, bro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
This is Tammy Jackson, inviting you to join me on The Tammy Jackson Show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on the 405radio.com. Put down that remote and tune into the show that covers politics, guns and the Second Amendment, religious liberties, sanctity of life, the military, and more. I host newsworthy guests and work hard to be a conservative radio show that's not like all the others. So save Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific for me, Tammy Jackson, on the 405media.com.
Who listens to the Andrea Kaye Show? Let's find out as we eavesdrop on listener Roger Johnson in Encinitas.
You know, if our policy is going to be bring any child who comes across the border and says coordination, we have to take them in.
Okay, so apparently Roger fell asleep in the middle of my brilliant political tirade, and now he plans to sue me because I put him on the air, sleeping. Obviously, he's a liberal.
Snoring, not an option while listening to the Andrea Kaye Show, Tuesday mornings at 11 on Financial News and Talk.
You know I'm right. Y'all know I'm right.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here's Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
What?
I don't know. You were going to say something.
Well, you looked like you were busy writing something down, so I was going to say, and we're back
Hey,
at the
thank
Sackheads
you.
Radio Show.
That's so nice of you to help out like that. I really appreciate it.
You're going to read the next topic off the board of topics that I prepared tonight?
Terror block. Terror block.
We have a lot in this. We have a lot to talk about.
I just got a flash though across the news real quick, and I know we have another breaking news thing, but there was a plane that apparently crashed with 53 people in Taiwan. I don't know if I would ever fly to or from Asia again.
Where's Asia?
I'm just saying.
Where's Asia?
It seems like they lose more planes in Asia.
Hey, their pilots are really good.
What?
Now, hang on a second. Sacco's mic is off. What he just said is they fly like they drive.
No, his mic is on, actually, I think.
Is it?
Yeah, I can hear him.
I don't think so. Did he just say they fly like they drive?
I don't know, and I don't mean to make...
Because that's what it sounded like he said.
I don't mean to make fun of the dead, but...
And is that what you just said also meant by that?
No.
Okay. I was going to be offended.
There's a serious safety record going on right now.
In Asia.
That really, really concerns me. It's like they're losing a plane once a month over there. It's frightening.
Well, they don't lose it. They know where it is. They lost one.
One completely off radar. Nowhere, nothing.
Like just disappeared.
It just disappeared.
Did it fly near Bermuda?
No, it was nowhere near Bermuda.
How do you know?
Because it didn't have enough gas on it to get to
How do
Bermuda.
you know there's not a vortex that goes from where it disappeared into Bermuda and disappeared that way?
Oh, man, if we could get that vortex to work just right, that would really make traveling to Asia a lot fun.
It would make a lot of things more fun.
It would explain a hell of a lot.
Could you imagine if you could harness that and like throw it at somebody and they just vortex out, almost like the portable hole from Looney Tunes.
I like where you're going.
Right?
I like where you're going with this.
Just have a portable vortex, throw it at somebody, and when it envelops them, it takes them to wherever.
No, I think that's a brilliant idea. Dude, how are we not funding this?
We are.
That's the problem. We are. That's where all the money from the network goes.
Right. It goes to our portable vortex. Because we want to do it on Michael Moore first.
Yes. That would be the best place to start, really.
Although
that's why we have to spend a lot of money. It has
Bryant
to be huge.
Gumble might be up
What
there
if
now.
they're having a luncheon? I'm just saying, hear me out. They're having a little luncheon, and
First of all, it's Michael Moore. You can't have a little lumption.
right. Well,
First of all, you said lumption.
I did say lumption because I was thinking lump like Michael Moore.
Right.
And you have the portable hole,
Right.
and just midway through his 15th croissant, you just toss it up there.
16th.
16th. I'm sure it's buttery. It will be after he touches it with his greasy, fat little hands.
Right.
You know what? I want to challenge Michael Moore.
To a hot dog eating contest.
No, I'd lose.
To a sword swallowing contest.
Only he'd be better at it. To a boxing match for charity.
Okay. I like where you're going with this.
Yeah, like 10 rounds. And
he couldn't last 10 rounds.
Let me have this, would you, please?
Sure, go for it.
All proceeds can go to a veterans cause.
No. If you win, all proceeds go to Wounded Warriors. If he wins, all proceeds go to Planned Parenthood.
Okay. That's inspiration enough for me to fight. I think that's good. So if anyone knows Michael Moore, he's at mmflint.com. Let him know
I thought it was at douchebag fatty at
No, he
.net.
had that one changed.
Oh, he
originally,
did?
Yeah.
Okay. JabbaStuntDouble.com, was that a different one?
The offer stands.
Yeah.
And I'm 100% serious. We could do a big fundraiser for it, rent out an arena. How many conservatives would pay money for that event?
To watch you kick Michael Moore's ass?
To wail on Michael Moore.
I would.
That would be awesome.
Make it, but instead
Clint
of boxing,
Eastwood would be front row.
Instead of making it boxing, why not make it MMA?
Because I don't want to roll on the ground with him. Because if he gets on me once, I'm hosed. Like even if I trip, you know what I mean? He just falls on me and nothing. I'm a dead man.
Right.
Suffocation on top of serious crushing wounds.
And having sweaty, nasty Michael Moore.
Yeah, I could drown. I could drown in
just
hair
in
and
his
sweat.
fat rolls.
Yes.
Right.
All that possibility is there. So I don't want to do that. Boxing. Stand up, nose-to-nose boxing. And I think that's... But he has to wear that stupid S hat, the green one with the S on it that he used to wear all the time before he got so rich and made millions of dollars that now he buys a new hat for every event like some sort of flaunting jerk. I'm just jealous of hats. What can I say? Either way, I think that would be an amazing fundraiser.
We're in terror block right now.
I'm sorry, terror block.
We're not in Michael Moore.
Sacco,
fatty
can I
block.
get a little echo for a second, please? Can I get some echo, Sacco?
You want some?
Yeah, right now.
Okay.
In 3.
Wow, this was prepped
2,
well.
1. Terror block. You didn't do it. You suck. Moving right along. But the finest sound engineer in the world, folks.
What did you come in early for?
What did you come in early
seriously,
for?
you know that was the setup.
No, I don't want it now. No. Sit down. I don't want it. I don't want it.
We need a webcam because Sacco just did a
That
happy
was the
dance.
best dance ever. Oh, man. So, last week, the Jordanians asked...
Well, hang on a second.
Okay.
We have to go back to the Japanese journalist.
Yes.
Who was beheaded.
Yes.
That was the first act. Again, another beheading. The Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe says he's infuriated, quote unquote, by the beheading of Mr. Kenji Goto. He says, "I feel indignation over this immoral and heinous act of terrorism." Well, yeah, I agree. And this just continues to show the brutality of ISIS and the fact that they need to be dealt with a hell of a lot harsher than we are dealing with them now. And then on to the burning of the Jordanian pilot.
Yeah.
And the video is out there. I don't recommend you see it. It's horrible unless you really have some weird desire to see somebody being burned alive. It's nothing anybody needs to watch. But it just shows the barbarism of this particular group. And I thought it was interesting that they've beheaded a lot of the Western hostages, but they actually burned
this one alive.
Another
Muslim, I believe.
Yeah. It's because he was a Muslim, the Jordanian pilot, and they believe that burning is reserved specifically for Muslims that have gone astray of the faith from their belief of what the faith is. Basically, that they this pilot abandoned the true path. And so this is why they burned him as opposed to beheading him. They burned him alive.
Well, and a little backstory on that. When according to King Abdullah of Jordan, when he said that he went to his pilots and said, we are going to be involved in the coalition to bomb ISIS. Who wants to be involved? And he may have been giving them out based on religion, and I don't know that for sure, but all of his pilots allegedly raised his hands, understanding the threat, and it's right on their borders. We have a tendency to ignore things like this because it's not on our doorstep yet. It's shown its head a couple times, but it hasn't actually taken grip like it has in the Middle East. And this young man, a 26-year-old pilot, lieutenant for Jordanian Air Force, was one of those volunteers.
And in ISIS's mind, as a result, he betrayed Islam.
Yeah.
Just like if he were to convert to Christianity. He betrayed Islam, and therefore the punishment for that is death. And that punishment is carried out by burning. So in their capital punishments, burning alive is, again, typically reserved for Muslims who betray their faith, or their vision of that faith anyways.
He was 26-year-old. He was from the Bedouin tribe. He was a Shiite Muslim. It was December 3rd where he was flying his attack aircraft, and and he crashed in the desert. He was captured then by ISIS, where he's been held in custody ever since. Last week, there was talks. Essentially, ISIS said, if you release a few prisoners who were involved in bombings in Jordan and I think in Iraq, then we'll give you back your pilot, essentially. This was just after the beheading of the Japanese journalists, the second one. And, Jordan said, okay, well, let's have a conversation, but we want proof of life. And proof of life was never given, and the video came out today. There's speculation that the video may be a month or so old.
Said it could be up to a month old, but
Yeah.
who knows if this was done today or it was done several weeks ago.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the amount of video editing that went into it, that they knew had to take some time. There was a lot of video editing. It's also one of the most technologically advanced video that ISIS has released, and I think that's more important than we give it credit for, because it shows you how well they're organizing, and that they're starting to be able to put out these videos with drama. I mean, the video itself is dramaful, but with this added drama, this look of almost like a North Korean video. That's the only thing I can relate it to. Remember the North Koreans released that video of New York City getting blown up, and they were all celebrating. It was very much akin to that.
Do you have Obama's reaction?
I have the text. Oh, Sacco, you do have the audio clip. Can you play that, please?
I just got word of the video that had been released. I don't know the details of the confirmations, but should, in fact, this video be authentic, it's just one more indication of the viciousness and barbarity of this organization. And it, I think, will redouble the vigilance and determination on the part of a global coalition to make sure that they are degraded and ultimately defeated. And it also just indicates the degree to which whatever ideology they're operating off of, it's bankrupt. We're here to talk about how to make people healthier and make their lives better. And this organization appears only interested in death and destruction.
It's just one more example. That's all.
Just one.
It's just one more example of how brutal they are. That's all. Look, is anybody really surprised? It's nothing new. It's just one more example. Can we move on, please?
Now listen,
is that kind of the tone? That's the
you
kind
guys
of the
have been
tone that I
telling me
got
for
from
years how brutal they are, and I so I shouldn't even have to repeat this.
Right.
To
Look,
you.
this is just one more example, and it's global coalition stuff.
The question of the authenticity, I understand to a point. We like to independently verify it. However, and I know he hadn't watched the video. From what I took away is he was in the middle of a press conference when it was released. He was told about it, so he didn't have a chance to watch it. So I don't know what he perceived it as in his head. However, anyone who watches the last 5 minutes of that video will tell you pretty damn quick that it's authentic. There's a ton of face-ups on the pilot. You can absolutely match all the stock photos that they have. It's very distinct. So, yeah, I mean, that part of the conversation was horrible.
And yet again, the president refused to call it Islamic extremist,
Islamic
terrorism, Islamic
murder,
or even to tie it to that. And
barbaric.
I know what the president's reaction is going to be to these things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't surprise me at all how he's almost dismissive of it. Like, well, it's one more example of how barbaric they are. Yeah, we get it.
Yes.
Yeah, we know they're barbaric. Okay, we're going to do some international coalition stuff, and we're going to try and
guys, come on!
take
I
care
keep
of some
telling
business.
you, I get it.
Right.
They're barbaric. Leave me
so
alone.
You know
on
what?
This crap.
Hey, Congress, issue a declaration of war against ISIS
and make him sign it. And if he doesn't sign it,
Congress declares war,
No.
not the president. Declare war, and then he's the commander-in-chief.
Didn't he say that at his State of the Union?
No, he called for some kind of action. He didn't call for it. We suggested that.
Oh, that's right. It was us.
That
was
action
us, right.
be
Yeah,
the declaration
was
of war.
us.
I mean, what more? Jordan has been such a huge supporter of ours,
a good ally, and
great ally in the Middle East. And you said it on break. You're like, man, they've been as good an ally to us in the Middle East as like Great Britain has.
Yeah, they've actually
dating way
been
back
there
to the
for
Revolution.
us.
Well, Britain wasn't really our ally then,
Right.
but you know, what I mean.
Since
Right.
World War I, we'll give them World War.
We'll give them World War One.
As soon as they started getting their rear ends kicked, they needed it. But it doesn't matter why.
Yeah,
we're friends. We're all
But
friends now.
we're all friends now. Hey, well, we need some people who can fight. Hey, who's kicked our ass in the past? The Americans? Yeah, let's ask them.
Jump in on them. They seem to know what they're doing when it comes to fighting. And they're right.
They have all the Irish guys over there now.
And listen, I know that there's some people who don't like. I'm not saying the Jordanians are perfect.
No, they're not. But they've been a good ally to us in the Middle
Yes.
East.
And they have definitely.
And they make great shoes. They gave us that one basketball player.
Right. Their Air Force wears them. I think the Air Jordans.
I think so. I think that's where the name comes from.
You look back as far as the first Gulf War and before. They have been taking from the Syrian conflict. They've been taking tons of refugees.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really hurt them, but they haven't shut their borders. They keep taking them. They keep trying to help them. And I can't find anything, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they're supporters of Israel. I mean, you see little clips here and there of somebody that makes a half statement, but they're a solid ally in that region. They're one of the few, and it's not a rich country, but it's a fairly stable country. A lot of people are now upset with King Abdullah and his government because ISIS captured this pilot, and essentially they're saying, well, if we weren't there, this wouldn't have happened, is blaming him. But what I was saying when I brought all this up is it could have very easily been a 26-year-old American pilot that was burned to death today.
I don't think they would have burned him. Unless that pilot was Muslim, they wouldn't have burned him alive.
Who knows? I think they were looking for a statement.
They were, but typically that burning is reserved for Muslims who have basically lost way in their eyes. And so unless you had a Muslim American pilot, I think they would have been beheaded. I don't think they would have been burned in this fashion.
No, I think I think when they get little nugget in their mind, like that, a really big hostage, somebody that carries a lot of clout. I mean, yes, the journalists, people are upset about and stuff like that, but I think when it's a military pilot, somebody who is actively bombing them in the Middle East,
but they're still following their concept of what the Quran says, right?
They're always going to twist a concept around so it meets theirs for death. It's not like they.
I mean, they'd still kill them. There's other ways subscribed by.
But I think it would be just as brutal as this video.
Probably,
was.
Yeah. I mean, beheading somebody's pretty damn brutal.
Yes, no, I understand that, but I think it would be. This was, like I said, this had a certain overly dramatic Hollywood feel to it.
I think it was. I honestly think this was a message more to other Muslims than it was to the West.
Yeah,
I really do.
Yeah,
just
don't
based
fight
upon
us.
based upon the manner of death, again, the burning of somebody who's lost their way in the faith, the message and whatnot. I really believe this was aimed more towards other Muslims. Like, hey, don't turn us in, join our cause. Don't lose your way because we will kill you.
He was in Iggy's in the chat room, and he was a Shia pilot, and ISIS is Sunni. They follow the sect of Sunni Islam, and the Sunnis hate the Shia, and they don't believe they even follow Islam. So, I think you're right. I think it was a message to non-believers, if you will, in the region,
or other Muslims
and other Muslims.
Yep.
And I think that because he was a pilot, and I think he was in an F-16, an American plane, but very, very advanced American plane, and he was kind of, if you will, the prize of the Jordanian Air Force. I think that played a big role in it as well, and that's why they did the video how they did. And it really was gut-wrenching. Now, tomorrow the president meets with King Abdullah in Washington. It's going to be interesting to see his approach with King Abdullah. Is he going to start with, I've advised the king that I'd like him to show restraint. And let's work together as a coalition to see
no.
what we can
Let's
do.
not show restraint. You know what? It should be a freaking race to see who can wipe that. We should be like Patton and the Russians.
Who's getting there first?
Yeah.
Who's getting
right?
there first?
Like ISIS is Berlin. And it should be a stinking foot race across the desert to see who can get ISIS and defeat them first.
And then,
that's what it should be.
And then, beers and a party afterwards.
Right.
And you can include the Kurds. I will include the Kurds into the race.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Anybody that wants to run. It should be an Olympic event. This should be televised. Right? Like real time. We see forces. Oh, look, there's France. Shit, they're ahead. Right?
Oh, no. Why are they so far ahead?
Like, what was that? Was that a Mexican Frenchman?
No.
What was that? That was horrible.
I don't care if the Mexicans want to jump in on this.
That's
fine.
what I'm saying.
Let them get in. It wasn't a Mexican, but it was a horrible accent.
Let him get in there. I'm sure there's like a stolen Chevy pickup truck from America that they could throw some soldiers on. What?
There are just so many bad jokes that I can make right now.
Their Cessna would get there eventually.
Yeah, just our cavalry call, and then what their cavalry call might be.
Quick, walk out on the wings and refill the tanks. We're running low. Some air refueling.
You get those jerry cans?
Right.
It's tequila. Anyhow.
It'll run on it.
But
seriously, right?
Yeah.
Like, what? No, we're not doing a coalition.
Here's the thing, and Iggy's talking about it in the chat room, but I said this earlier today, and the Jordanians have a tendency not to play with stuff like this.
They've already transferred some prisoners, and I think there's a newsflash I saw where they executed 2.
They executed the 2 prisoners that they were planning on transferring back. In the past, they've been very, very aggressive if they or their military members have been attacked. I believe during the original Gulf invasion, there was some issues going on with Iraq, and I think that they were quick to retaliate. And it was a long time ago. I can't remember exactly. I want to say it was it may have been a Scud missile that went into Jordan or something like that. And Jordan was quick to make sure that the Iraqis understood that they weren't playing then either.
Sean just paused because there's a helicopter hovering very close to our studio.
All right, Sacco, monitor all connections. If they go down...
That's low.
That is... I can feel it. You can actually feel it.
Right.
That was bizarre.
Wait, it's a PA address. I think they just said Sackhead Sean.
Exit the building. Oh, that's just weird. That's what happens. You know what the nickname for that is? I don't know if this helicopter was law enforcement or not, but one of the best nicknames I ever heard was the Ghetto Bird. Oh, look, the Ghetto Bird's in the sky. The hell's a Ghetto Bird? The helicopter. Anyhow, there are 4 people currently, 4 terrorists that are being held that are slated for execution. We believe 2 have already been executed at this point. The other 2 may have been.
They should make a video and send it to ISIS.
They should. It's dramatic. But ISIS doesn't care about those people that's executed. That's the reality. Because they believe that they should be dying for the cause.
But send it out anyways.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
This is what we're going to do to you.
But I from what I've read today is that the shift in Jordan of the people have changed too. Quickly from that ISIS isn't our war, why are we getting involved, blah 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 blah, to
now it's our war.
We want blood,
right?
We want them dead. We want you to kill them, all of them, every single one, before they get here, because now that it could come here very quickly,
right? Obviously,
and especially because in Syria and Kobani, the Kurds are wailing the heck out of ISIS, and they've pushed them out of the city, and ISIS is going to be looking for somewhere else to go and set up shop.
Notice in the video they had all new, nice new military uniforms too.
Yes, and I wonder if they're trying to qualify for the Geneva Convention.
No flags, right? No markings on their uniforms.
Well, I didn't see the way they were lined up. It was hard to see if maybe they had an ISIS patch. They have a flag. They have a symbol of their nation. They consider themselves a separate state, even if we don't recognize it. They consider itself. They had uniforms.
They did.
It'd be interesting to see if they have a patch on those uniforms.
But they're not following Geneva Convention rules. And they're not recognized as a country, therefore Geneva Convention would not apply to them.
I hope not, because that means you
But
can
I did notice, you noticed the tan boots and the tan balaclavas and the desert camo.
Yeah, and they all matched.
Yeah.
And they were all clean. They all had the same style of AK-47. They were in a line. They were very, very organized in uniform, which is not normal for them. Normally, they're kind of ragtag and whatever they're wearing. So, yeah, it's very,
Who's
very crazy.
funding them?
Who is funding them? Turkey? No. Yeah. Turkey's afraid of ISIS. They're either supporting them 100% or they're petrified of them, but Turkey will not take a stand against ISIS, which scares me.
They're a NATO country, too.
They are. They're very much a NATO country. And I almost feel like...
We should invoke that just to see what Turkey does.
Brilliant. Let's work on that. And allegedly, there's video, and this is coming over in the chat room, there's video of ISIS today handing out U.S. food supplies to people. Where would they get that? I think we said food supplies to Turkey. I'm just saying, there's some weirdness going on there. We do actually send food supplies to the Kurds, who they've been battling in Syria, and weapons and stuff like that. So it's not completely unreasonable to think that if they won in a couple buildings and took that over. I think the Kurds are going to be the difference with ISIS, and now the Jordanians. I really do.
Look, we're up against a break. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about this.
And then we'll get over into Benghazi. There's some interesting occurrence that happened there in the hearings. Back at 3 on the Sackheads Radio Show.
by corrupt politicians.
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
A team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying cow for the stupid pro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
This is Tammy Jackson, inviting you to join me on The Tammy Jackson Show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on the 405radio.com. Put down that remote and tune into the show that covers politics, guns and the Second Amendment, religious liberties, sanctity of life, the military, and more. I host newsworthy guests and work hard to be a conservative radio show that's not like all the others. So save Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific for me, Tammy Jackson, on the 405media.com.
Who listens to The Andrea Kaye Show? Let's find out as we eavesdrop on listener Roger Johnson in Encinitas.
You know, if our policy is going to be bring any child who comes across the border who says coordination, we have to take them in.
Okay, so apparently Roger fell asleep in the middle of my brilliant political tirade, and now he plans to sue me because I put him on the air, sleeping. Obviously, he's a liberal.
Snoring, not an option while listening to The Andrea Kaye Show, Tuesday mornings at 11 on Financial News and Talk.
You know I'm right. Y'all know I'm right.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
And we're back here on the Sackheads Radio Show on the SHR Media Network. Thank you so very much for joining us this evening. Before we went to the break, we talked about terror block. We talked about the Jordanians. We talking about the Kurds. Clint had some more he wanted to add to the conversation. So, sir, I will turn it over to you.
And we're back here at the Sackheads Radio. What?
Nothing. Go ahead.
And we're back.
It's like we're playing repeal.
But even better.
I got you that echo you wanted.
You know,
Thank you
the
very
other
much.
you brought up what I wanted to bring up is you brought up the point where Jordan is this is going to come onto Jordanian soil, and I wanted to touch on that after the break. At the end of the video with the pilot, ISIS offers 100 golden dinars, not dinners, although that could be kind of yummy, but 100 golden dinars for any Muslims in Jordan who kill other Jordanian pilots whose names, pictures, and hometowns were shown in the video. So, yeah, it's absolutely going to reach their shores, or it could, and that's why I agree with your point that Jordan is going to act very swiftly on this. And I'm curious to see. Look, I know there's not very many people in this country that want another ground war in the Middle East. However, you have to use ground forces in conjunction with the airstrikes in order to root them out. You have to. I don't care if it's part of a coalition. I don't care if it's just American. But ISIS is just as bad as the Nazis in World War II.
And they're growing.
And they're growing. And what would have happened if, I mean, look, we saw how the Nazi Party really grew and thrived in Germany and in Europe and whatnot, and the results of that. And yet we don't learn from history, and this is a growing movement, a barbaric movement, and we know how they treat fellow Muslims who don't believe the same radical prose that they do. Mm-hmm. We have an obligation on some level to take action. This is going to affect us here at home at some point. It's going to affect Jordan at home, as evidenced by the end of the ISIS video. So, at what point does Congress take the initiative? At what point do the American people realize the seriousness of what is happening on the world stage in the Middle East and the ISIS threat, and demand action?
Well, you know, and I've said before, and I'll say it again, as long as the media is complicit with what the White House wants, I don't think people will understand the barbaric attacks. And listen,
I don't think this president takes it seriously. I feel like it's just one more example of how barbaric. Well, yeah, it is. And we're releasing more Gitmo detainees, and we're releasing higher.
We're giving them everything they want. I don't know why they keep doing this.
Right.
I mean, God,
well,
these
you
guys.
You won't close Gitmo Congress, so I'm just going to release everybody.
Right. I'm just going to make it completely. Yeah.
And they're rejoining. They're trying to make contact again.
Yeah.
To rejoin the fight. They're heroes when they go back.
Yeah. They get put on a pedestal. So we at some point, like you said, it's fish or cut bait. What are we going to do? Are we going to sit here and just cut bait? Or are we going to go out and do some fishing and eliminate this threat before it goes? Listen.
It's already gone.
No, but going more. My biggest concern is Syria, and let me tell you why. Say ISIS topples Syria, and Syria is complete ruins right now.
Yes.
The country as we know it is just destroyed. Mm-hmm. Say ISIS topples Syria and assumes the role of government in Syria.
Mm-hmm.
They are now a nation.
Country, yes.
Whether we want them to be or not, they are now a nation.
We would not recognize that government, though.
We would not recognize that government. UN might. You never know. But
right. True. You're right.
Iran might. Who knows what Russia's going to do at this point? We can't trust them as far as we can throw them. At some point, that is a possibility. And then they now have access to Syrian military stuff, and their armory grows. They have access to military planes. They'll have access to a lot of things. And, yeah, you know what? They may still be a quote-unquote ragtag army. But now they become a bigger threat to the region. And Syria has chemical weapons, something they have been seeking from the beginning, and something that there was a lot of outrage on their behalf because we recently killed one of their chemical weapons experts who worked for the Iraqis up until the mid and late 90s to early 2000s. That's weird. Anyhow, it doesn't matter. And, so that concern starts to come in. Who can they guess? Anyone they want, really. Syria's got not amazing, but decent rocket propulsion. They can send it 100 miles, 150 miles with the gas warhead. Who's that close to? Oh, Israel, right. Israel's right there. Oh, the Jordanians. I mean, I know it'll be pretty far on the outskirts of...
And that's why I don't know that that'll happen, because I don't think Jordan or Israel would let that happen.
But we need to be on the forefront of that, I think. Either as advisors or militarily, we need to be on the forefront. ISIS needs to be eliminated. They need to be purged.
Not contained.
Not contained.
Not slowed down.
Right.
Not scared, because they won't be... but completely eradicated.
And, Iggy, and if you're not in the chat room, you miss a whole bunch of good stuff. But, Syria does sit right on the Mediterranean, and that puts Saudi Arabia in play, Turkey, Iraq, Jordan, Israel, and a lot more. And then it gives them naval ability, because Syria has some naval ability as well. I mean, all these things are frightening. So you may think, the American people, I think, picture ISIS as like 40 or 50 bad guys just like running around almost like a Yosemite Sam cartoon in the middle of the desert. just attack.
I've seen that one.
I know you knew exactly which one
I knew exactly which one you were talking about.
But I think the estimates now is close to 100,000 active ISIS members. They have vehicles. They have an armor system. We now see them with organized uniforms. A lot of them are battle-hardened and well-trained terrorists. Or I don't even know if you call them. I mean, they are terrorists, but I think you have to start. There has to be a worse name that we can call them. Armed insurgent is not it. They are starting to become a point where if they start getting into countries who agree with them, say Syria turns around and all of a sudden supports ISIS under the theory of, I'd rather them be with us than against us. And now you do
because they're more afraid of ISIS than they are the United States,
right? And
or
now
against
you have
a Western
de facto
coalition.
ISIS government that Assad is fronting, and Assad,
but if we had troops on the ground and we were going in and we were killing them,
yes, nobody would want
any part of it.
Yep, and you would see a lot of people, and again, this is why I say the Jordanians are going to be a big player in this, and I said that right away. And the Kurds, we have to arm and take care of the Kurds.
So, and look, I don't mean this to sound cliche, but how much responsibility for the growth of ISIS falls squarely on the shoulders of the White House?
A lot of us, as soon as we pulled out of Iraq.
Right?
As soon as we pulled out of Iraq, that was the first stop on their shopping trip to get armor and weapons.
And the left is going to say, oh, you're just blaming Obama for everything. But I'm serious. Look, we saw how Reagan handled the Russians, right? We saw how Reagan's handled Libya, and other threats to America. And what?
To Libya. You want to talk about just like a complete FU.
Right.
To everybody.
Right.
Everyone who wasn't with us was against us that night.
Yes.
Hey, can we fly over? No. Yeah, we're going to do it anyway.
Yeah, too bad.
We're going to say we're not flying over, but the intruders will be flying over.
And if you try and shoot us down, and nobody screwed with us.
Yeah. Watch what happens to Gaddafi later on tonight, and then if you try to shoot us down, you never know what might happen.
Right? No, you know what's going to happen.
Right.
Because right ahead, right behind these A6s that we're going to use to fly over your country,
we have a ton more.
We've got a lot more that are actually flying around your little airspace, which is cute.
Mm-hmm. It's adorable. It really is. So, we need to take a stance like that. And I hate to say we need another Reagan, but we do need another Reagan. At this point, I'll say it again. We need somebody with the audacity of George Bush.
Not the audacity of hope.
Not the audacity of hope. But somebody, like him or hate him, or we can talk about his finances at the end, but when it came to protecting the homeland and our allies, George W. Bush was not afraid.
George W. Bush should not screw around. And there are several of his policies I disagree with.
Right.
We can talk about the Patriot Act and financial policies and whatnot, but or fiscal policies. But we need somebody obviously a lot harder on terror than we have. And I know we're kind of running short in that segment. Benghazi.
Right. Well, if we had somebody like Hillary against ISIS, to find out, we probably would have been better off.
We need somebody who's going to answer the phone at 3 a.m.
We need somebody who is essentially going to try to start a bloody war in a third world country that's not far. So the Washington Times first reported that there were tapes of Hillary and essentially her role in the 2011 military intervention in Libya. And apparently Hillary was taking a little bit more of a role in that than anyone thought so.
To back the rebels.
To back the rebels, right, to unseat the Gaddafi regime.
Right. She was backing Luke Skywalker against the Emperor.
Right. She was throwing in weapons and money and a bunch of other tactics. And amazingly, and this tells you how scary Hillary is. I'm not going to lie.
Like, I've seen her without makeup on.
Right. Frightening.
And you are not not even kidding.
Actions. And you know what? If on the forefront she was like, hey, you know what? We need to get rid of Gaddafi. Hey, you know what? We needed to stop ISIS. If she was on the forefront aggressive, you'd be like, okay, well, that's just her personality. I would actually respect that.
Right.
Because I may not agree with it, but at least I know where you stand.
Right.
When it came to Libya, she was very underhanded and seedy and really trying to do a lot of back channel stuff to the point that there were generals calling Libyans saying, hey, we're trying to stop this. Don't do anything right now.
Right.
So you have our military on one hand essentially saying, we may not like Gaddafi, but it's a stable region.
Right.
And on the other hand,
the State Department or the Secretary of State.
Secretary of State, the woman who's going to run for office.
President.
Right. Who essentially is starting the Civil War. And now that it's going to go in front of the committee, Trey Gowdy's going to review all the tapes that were involved and start to get down to it. Does this affect, and I know everyone's going to come out and say partisan, this is politics, etc.
No,
but
it's
you really
not.
have to understand who she is by these tapes.
Now, my other question is this. If members of the military were reaching out to Libya saying, hey, whoa, we're trying to stop this, and Obama is the commander-in-chief, were they acting at his direction and she was off the reservation? Or was the military in and of themselves trying to take action to stop what the administration was doing? Because that's a problem. We may not agree with what the administration's doing, but is the military reaching out to try and circumvent the civilian leadership of that military? Now, what's the bigger deal here? Because I don't have that information, and I don't think it's out there. So is the bigger deal that Hillary was potentially acting at the behest of the administration,
which is possible, right? In trying to overthrow Gaddafi as part of this whole Arab Spring thing, or and if that's the case, you now have the United States military or officials within it potentially circumventing their civilian oversight, which is a big deal in this country, that we have that civilian control and oversight of the military, circumventing that and reaching out to a foreign government. What's the bigger story? Well, and I think we've seen things like this before with Russia.
Well, hang on. What's the bigger story?
Oh, I think they're equal. I think they're very equal. I think those stories very, very are.
Or did you have a Secretary of State that was off the reservation and the Obama administration said, hey, U.S. military, reach out to Libya and tell them that we're not trying to do this? But I don't think that doesn't make sense to me, because Obama, I would think, would rein Hillary in and reach out to these leaders himself.
No, see, I don't know. I think you do have. I don't think Obama wanted
somebody was
Hillary.
Off base.
I don't think Obama wanted Hillary to do that, and here's why. Have you ever seen him try to get involved in any way like this?
In the Arab Spring?
Well,
this is great.
I understand
Just overthrow
that,
these.
But Gaddafi's exactly what he wants.
Was he? He was an oppressive leader.
Right.
He was stable, but look what this administration did in Egypt.
Right.
Egypt was stable.
Well, and that's 2 in a row. Then
exactly, and that's my point. That's why I don't think that Hillary did this on her own, because I look at how the administration handled the Egypt uprising.
I'll give you
and
that.
I think he stayed quiet on it. Again, I don't know this. This is just me speculating based upon what I know of
we've seen.
Right. So
facts, knowledge, prior experience.
So to me, the bigger deal would be if the United States military was going around the administration. Whether I agree with this administration was doing or not, the fact that if this is true, if the United States military and members of the military were circumventing its civilian oversight and exceeding its constitutional role in reaching out to foreign leaders, independent of the elected leadership of this country, I have a major problem with that.
That would explain the huge purge afterwards.
Potentially.
The huge military purge that
right?
followed.
And why were they not then tried?
Well, because then it would look like the president doesn't have control.
He doesn't.
Right, but it would look like it even more. It would be more stable, and and the other thing too is I almost wonder.
And where's that aspect of the story? Or is
well,
that something...
and they say military and Pentagon, and oftentimes you find out later that it was the CIA. The CIA has historically played back-channel games with other countries. Look at all the different channels that were open with Russia that weren't coming from the White House, but they were all kind of controlled from the same place. But was there a military attaché or a CIA operative or somebody high up who said, hey, if this destabilizes, we're in a lot of trouble in the Middle East, and we can't have this happen. So, and it sounds to me that they really were turning around and saying, and they were talking to Gaddafi's son, But hey, tell them to hold off. We're working with our people to try to stop this. So were they in communication with the government?
Look,
with,
I don't know.
The Secretary of State saying, "Hey."
According to the article on Fox News that I read, the article says at the time Pentagon officials reportedly used an intelligence liaison to communicate with Gaddafi's son and a top Libyan leader outside of White House or State Department knowledge. So there you go. If Pentagon officials, which are United States military. Are using an intelligence liaison.
Most of them are.
To communicate.
Most are.
Okay, if it's a Pentagon official that's using this, then that Pentagon official is a representative of the Pentagon or of the military, would be my position on that.
Right, but
whether they're part of the military or not, they're acting at the behest of.
I understand.
And that would almost be worse.
Right.
Right? Because now you have...
It brings up a lot of questions, doesn't it?
It does. And why is that part of the story not being
talked about
anywhere? And is this going to come up anywhere else?
Never. It'll never come up anywhere else. And it's also one of those things, too, like I said
earlier. And if it comes up anywhere tomorrow, you heard it here first, folks.
Right here on the Sackheads Radio Show, ladies and gentlemen, the SHR Media Network, every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific.
Except for tonight. And
patent pending.
Pended.
I don't know what I pended it on. But doesn't that tell you, shortly after the Arab Spring, like I said earlier, we had a huge military purge where a lot of high-ranking officials essentially were retired or asked to retire, and a lot of the young Obama appointees were put into place, etc. Isn't that almost scary, though, to the point to think that if maybe this administration's policies were so bad, or their incompetence was so over the top, or something to that effect, that somebody in the military risked, and I don't know, I'm just hypothetical. I mean, this is all hypothetical at this point, but say, hey, look what the hell happened just in Egypt right now with this guy dawdling. And
look, I get that, but
I'm not saying it's right.
Okay.
But I want you to think about the mindset of the person who essentially, maybe even knowingly violated the Constitution. But wait a minute, this is going to destabilize this whole region that we just spent the last 10 years trying to fix. And it could get a hell of a lot worse. I understand the legality of it, and I understand all of that. But what I'm saying is it that desperate that somebody is willing to risk their freedom?
It doesn't matter how desperate it is. You asked the question, so I'm responding. It doesn't matter how desperate it is, because what happens if it's desperation that leads another military leader or somebody else in the military to reach out and try and circumvent the civilian the civilian leadership, whether it's on this issue or any other issue. If it's okay for one to do, if I say it's okay for it to do in this case because I fundamentally disagree with this administration, then that would mean same argument we use on this show, right? Then that would mean there was somebody that I agreed with, then it would be okay for that.
I'm not
also
saying it should be right or allowed. I'm not even saying they shouldn't be prosecuted if it amounts to that. What I'm saying is it gives you a good insight into the administration and how jacked up. And, like you said, if the military was acting at the behest, if you will, of the White House, and the Secretary of State was out doing her own thing.
But it wasn't, because according to this article, it says that the Pentagon was using this asset outside of knowledge of the White House or the State Department.
Yeah, but we don't. Right, this report says it.
Correct. And that's what I'm saying. If that is accurate,
right? I understand that. But what I'm saying is, what if it isn't accurate? What if the White House was at the command of the Pentagon and
Secretary of State was off the reservation,
off running around, starting her own little wars?
Yeah, and we brought that up prior also.
Either way,
it's
it
bad.
Is a frightening situation. And I think it goes to show you how jacked up this administration is on the inside. And it doesn't matter it does matter what the outcome is of this, and it does matter what specifically happened. Yes, I agree with all of that. But I think the bigger picture is how defunct the Obama administration is.
I think Obama has a lot of funk. What? That's not what you meant?
He might have a lot of funk.
I've
never seen him get down.
I think he could get down.
No, he wears mom
boogie
jeans.
And get right back up again.
No, he has mom jeans.
You think so?
The dude wears mom jeans, and he drinks beer. Did you see that? Speaking of, wait, no.
What did you just do?
I threw my microphone on the floor.
I know, because you bring up beer and you just get all excited.
How did you know I was going to bring up beer?
Because you threw your microphone on the ground.
First of all, did you hear any of his Super Bowl interview?
No.
I forget what her name is. I think it was ABC. Had his, you know how every year he does it. He didn't do it with O'Reilly this year, which is kind of weird, but he picked a go-getter network like ABC, I think it was.
Right.
And they're in she's interviewing, I don't even know the reporter's name, but he's sitting there talking about how they're brewing beer at the White House like the first president of the United States did way back in the day. You know, President Washington, all the years that he lived in the White House and brewed beer.
Which was
zero.
never.
That was zero.
Zero.
I'm pretty sure you have to wait till you get to the second set of Adams.
No, John Adams was the first one by the White House.
Sorry.
First Adams, so second president.
Right.
But he didn't even move in until later. It wasn't even right away.
I think it was near the end. I think he was the one.
He was
had
one
it built.
term.
Right.
No, he didn't have it built, but he moved in when it was still like being under constructed. It was like a wreck, and then the British burned
and then
it somehow
first
back.
of all, and then second of all,
you can't have a first of all. We just had like a couple of alls.
Second of all, you don't drink beer with your pinky up, mom jeans. So calm it down. All right.
Right.
You drink tea with your pinky up.
Right.
All right. I get it.
Or a Cosmo.
You wear mom jeans and comfortable shoes. I understand it, sweetheart. All right. But you certainly don't ever drink beer like that when you're representing our government. Even Hillary, when she was running last time, drinking beer in Boston, grabbed the entire glass like a beer drinker.
Right.
Walk the walk, Sally. Holy moly. That drives me insane. And second of all, George Washington made whiskey. At least know it. If you're going to lie, at least be in the ballpark.
Right.
But now I'm afraid...
Sitting there sipping beer with your pinky out and the fag in your mouth. That was a British term for cigarettes.
Right.
Right. So I don't want anybody to think that I was...
No, I know.
Being disparaging because I wasn't.
We're international on this show sometimes.
Yeah, no, we're just being all inclusive. Look, we got 3 minutes before, but I want to talk about what happened at UC Davis, the University of California in Davis. So...
Let's just rail on him and then pick this up on the other side, because this story is going to get me mad as well. And
we have so much other stuff to get to.
I know. What? The House appealed? Okay. But that's...
Okay, we can do that. The House voted to repeal Obamacare.
Right.
Good.
Yay! We've done that, how many times now?
Good job.
They passed the vote.
Going to go to the Senate. I wonder if you guys have the testicular fortitude to override a veto. That's what I want to know.
Let's see if you have the
And I don't know who
stones.
Vito is.
Right.
But I think he's the guy from the Teamsters that was in trying to push Obamacare.
And I've talked about this before, and I've thrown out this warning. Republicans, you don't have a plan willingly in place that will replace it.
Yeah, free market. How's that?
No,
it doesn't matter.
No, but
get rid of it first.
Stop. No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes. Yes times infinity.
Yes times infinity plus one. No. But here's the thing, and I think this is what sways a lot of American people in this country.
Told you this would be more than a 3-minute segment. I just wanted to prove a point, folks. We'll be back after this break.
Is it, when you don't have a plan, then it looks like sour grapes. Prove why this isn't working. Tell everybody why.
Because
and what
it
you're going to do to
sucks.
fix it. We said before when Obamacare was passed, there are some things that Congress could do within their limits. The government could do within their legal limits.
But the first thing you need to do is repeal a bad law, which is unconstitutional anyway.
I agree.
Sacco, thank you for playing
shut
us
up
out.
For a second.
We're up against a break. When we come back,
Yes,
UC Davis, California.
Have a plan. Interstate commerce. Don't mute me. No!
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean,
Dude, I'm not saying calf for the stupid program.
Sackhead Clint,
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
This is Tammy Jackson, inviting you to join me on the Tammy Jackson Show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on the 405radio.com. Put down that remote and tune into the show that covers politics, guns and the Second Amendment, religious liberties, sanctity of life, the military, and more. I host newsworthy guests and work hard to be a conservative radio show that's not like all the others. So save Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific for me, Tammy Jackson, on the 405media.com.
Who listens to the Andrea Kaye Show? Let's find out as we eavesdrop on listener Roger Johnson in Encinitas.
You know, if our policy is going to be bring any child who comes across the border and says coordination, we have to take them in.
Okay, so apparently Roger fell asleep in the middle of my brilliant political tirade, and now he plans to sue me because I put him on the air, sleeping. Obviously, he's a liberal.
Snoring, not an option while listening to The Andrea Kaye Show, Tuesday mornings at 11 on Financial News and Talk.
You know I'm right. Y'all know I'm right.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Saying is quite simply, if they just interstate commerce, you have a plan, you roll it out, you show the American people
I get that.
you're going to legislate.
I get that, but what you have to do first is repeal a bad law.
No,
you have
I know,
to take.
but you have
listen,
to show that you
it
have the power to legislate,
it
though.
affects
One
American
of the
liberties
biggest
and
concerns-
individual liberties.
I understand
Listen,
that.
Soccer, you
And
need
we're
to let us
back.
know when we're back from a break. When you talking
Have
about
we got a
individual
commercial yet?
liberties, I think so.
Sacco
played us out a while ago.
And we're back.
Oh, real good, nice.
Wait, I
Anyways,
have something for you guys.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
I am.
Go. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. That
Thank
was
you to
nice.
everyone at home.
That was nice. And thank
no,
you.
No, really, thank you.
I want to play
No,
this
really.
one. It says something.
No.
We ain't found shit.
Okay.
Yeah, Sean. So I guess we were arguing during the entire break, and Sean was wrong, saying that you have to have something to put in place
not wrong.
first before you take care
No,
of the
you don't
individual
have to
liberties.
put it in
and I
place
was
first.
saying,
I'm just saying
and I
show
was
the American
saying
people you have a
that
plan.
what you should do first is get rid of a law which oppresses the people and is horrible, and then formulate something after the fact. And
but I
clearly,
think-
Sean is wrong in this. I want to get to a story out of California. UC Davis.
You suck.
What? What? So
Nothing.
there was a
Nothing. Tell me
a
about
meeting.
tell me about your brothers and sisters over at UC Davis.
There was a
what have they done now?
There was a student representatives at University of California in Davis last week. There was a debate on a motion for the student government, basically, in order to urge the university to divest from companies that are doing business in Israel. The motion passed, and what happened is, as there was a pro-Jewish group who was there, and they were there speaking against the divestment declaration, and they were completely shouted down. And as they were walking out, there was a group there raising Palestinian flags or whatnot, shouting Allah Akbar.
Oh,
as they were leaving. And traditionally, it means Allah is great or Allah is the greatest.
God is greater.
But we know that is a declaration of radical Islam.
Very much so.
Particularly preceding any kind of attack or whatnot.
Very much so.
And so this is very disturbing to me because, first of all, and then a couple days later, one of the Jewish communities, one of the Jewish fraternity residences, were vandalized with swastikas. I'm sure it's completely unrelated. But what I want to know, I have not heard anything from the University of California, Davis on this.
Not at all.
About what they are going to do with this group that was basically inciting or trying to intimidate the pro-Israel folks. And this has been a movement among California university campuses
for a long time,
where they are trying to pressure the universities to divest in businesses that are doing business in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And folks, these are publicly funded schools.
Yes, that's the scariest part.
And
yeah.
I want to know why this is not being addressed.
Well, and UC Davis has a history. Kirstie Alley and Horowitz were both shouted down while they were at UC Davis at one point, both Jewish. There's been a lot of pro-Palestine movements on the UC Davis.
Yeah.
Folks, this hits my personal local news. I see it all the time.
Look, it gets better.
Mm-hmm.
One of the members of the UC Davis Student Senate, a member of the Student Senate at UC Davis.
Oh, she probably has.
Azka Fayaz.
Must have something good to say.
She put on her Facebook page, quote, Hamas and Sharia law have taken over UC Davis.
Oh. Is that a declaration from Islam? Is that a declaration from ISIS?
How is she not being investigated? How is she not? Because Hamas is a terror organization, if I'm not mistaken.
It most certainly is.
Right, as designated here in the United States.
Or
unless I'm wrong.
Like
how is she not being sanctioned by the school? How is she not being questioned by federal authorities?
Because
is
Hamas
Hamas
people upset?
Has Hamas and Sharia law in fact taken over UC Davis?
Or at least have been recognized.
And is the silence of UC Davis proof that they have in fact been taken over? Because otherwise, are they not obligated to speak out against this type of behavior and this type of rhetoric that Hamas and Sharia law have taken over the campus?
Yes.
Are they not obliged to speak out and deny that or to sanction
They at least
student?
are obliged to come out and say all free speech will be protected. There will be no hate speech of any side from one to the other, and that you will respect other people's individual liberties.
Now, I have an idea. Since Hamas, a terror organization, has taken over UC Davis, why don't we send the military in to take it back?
Well, what's funny is, and we talked about this before the show, let's just say...
And I'm being ridiculous,
Of course you are, and I'm going to take it one more ridiculous step.
Sure.
How did the Russians end up in Ukraine? They turned around and said they were protecting ethnic Russians, correct?
Correct.
What if Netanyahu turned around and said, well, apparently it's my job to protect the Jewish people.
Right.
The Jewish people of UC Davis campus are not safe and protected. I think that I need to put some IDF troops on the ground there to make sure their safety.
You know what I would like? I would like a news hound. If only I knew a news hound.
If only I knew a hound.
From an SHR media network. Somebody who would take this up and try and track this story down to get UC Davis's response. If there was anybody we knew
anywhere
who could, whose name was Hassan. What?
Go on.
Who could track this story and really, who has a nose for news, not a nose like I have.
Right, no.
But like a nose for news.
You have a nose like Mark's.
Like a sail.
And not Carl Groucho.
Right. you got a belly like Santa.
Yeah, no, I'm good with it.
Yeah, no, I love it.
We get caught out in the cold. One of us is living and one of us is not. That's all I'm saying. Go on.
Oh, yeah, because you're going to seek shelter under my nose. I get it. I see what you're saying
it's like
there.
Two umbrellas. Sacco and I would be fine.
You guys be great. Sacco would be fine out in the cold.
Here.
He's got all the fur. Furry little man. Furry little Ewok.
Yeah. He looks like a really, really short Bigfoot. Anyhow.
But he's got really small feet, which is ironic that you said that.
Well, it is just bizarre.
Anyways, I wanted to share that story, and I know you got angry. And I'm a little disappointed that you're not as angry and fired up. I think you used your angriness on that last segment, your last little tirade about Obamacare that you were wrong on.
Well,
What?
Let me dissect this a little bit.
No, let's not. Let's talk about, because I didn't realize that Biden.
This is so great.
I'm not going to steal your thunder. This one's all you.
This is awesome. I would do one. Let me make one more comment, please.
Yes.
About the UC Davis issue. At what point does somebody turn around to the UC system and just say that it's run so poorly and it's run with state and federal money that replacements need to be made? That's what I want to know.
The problem is it's California.
And it won't ever happen.
And it won't happen.
I know it won't happen.
Because this legislature that we have in this state,
but you know what?
Agrees with that philosophy.
Conservatives, now Jews, maybe they need to start banding together. Maybe they need to start making a stink. Maybe somebody needs to sue this this Palestinian group there for violation of civil rights.
What civil rights do they violate?
Let me find one.
Yeah, find one.
Because you know what? There's got to be one case out there where it's close.
Look, I mean, is this hate speech?
I believe it's very much
Is this?
hate
I mean,
speech.
obviously it's motivated by hate, and obviously that post on that Facebook, that Hamas and Sharia Law have taken over UC Davis. That's disturbing.
That is very, very disturbing. And the fact that that declaration can be made and there's no response to it whatsoever from the school itself,
right,
is the most eerie silence that could possibly be.
Thunderous silence.
Folks, you need to understand something. I hate playing the conspiracy theorist, and I hate being the guy that's crying wolf and the sky's falling. But it's really starting to get to the point that it is creeping into every aspect of our life. And if somebody just put the damn PC blanket down and stand up and call it what it really is and deal with it for what it really is, we are not safe from it. And when we live in a country where one group is protected and other groups will not, it's just as prejudiced as if we lived in a country where one group is intentionally held down by another. It is horrible, and it is sad, and it is sickening, and we need to make changes quickly. Quickly. If you are a California listener, why aren't you calling your state representatives and your state senators, having a conversation, and saying, hey, what the hell is going on there? And even if you're outside, federal money goes into it. Federal money goes into the school. Call your local and state and say, hey, you know what? Next time it comes money for California for education,
yep,
mandate that no money goes to the UC system. Make a change on this because it's only going to get worse.
You know, and I do want to say,
Berkeley.
UC Davis did release a statement related to this, but it was so weak,
right? Because
and
they don't want to insult them.
Linda Catan, I can't even pronounce her last name. Linda. She says that the vote does not reflect the position of UC Davis or the University of California system. The investment policy for the University of California system, including UC Davis, is set by the UC Board of Regents. Who's on that?
Oh.
I digress. The board and office of the president issued a statement regarding student resolutions that urged the board to divest from companies doing business with Israel. The statement reiterates the board's position that this type of call to action will not be entertained. Regarding the student senator's comments, they basically say, quote, statements by individuals do not reflect a position of the university or the university community as a whole. UC Davis is built on a foundation of tolerance and inclusion, and we have an obligation to treat each other with the respect and dignity even when we disagree. That's all that was said. A student in the student government endorsed a terror organization saying that Hamas and Sharia law have taken over the university, have taken over UC Davis. And what you're going to say is, well, it doesn't reflect the position of the university or the university community as a whole. We're built on tolerance and inclusion. We have an obligation to treat each other, blah, blah, blah. Are you kidding me?
You're not speaking out against the hate speech.
You're not speaking out against
that.
If anything,
or saying, all you're doing is protecting it.
Right. Hey, listen, we have zero tolerance for terror organizations or the comment being made that terror organization has taken over this campus or that Sharia law exists here. How can you be that vanilla on this topic? And that's what has me angry about this. I want to know why the university did not come out more forcefully on that, particularly with the Hamas comment by that student. If this were some sort of anti-Christian, right? If the Christians were shouting down somebody else.
Yes.
The university would be all over this.
Oh, God,
right?
yeah.
If they said Christianity has taken over the University of California system, do you think that statement made by, and I'm not equating Christianity obviously to a terror organization, but I'm using it to show the ridiculousness of what an upside down world we live in right now. If Christianity had taken over the UC system or UC Davis, this university would be up in arms. We don't endorse any religion, right?
Right, at all. We don't endorse any one religion over another, and how dare they?
Right.
How dare they?
This is clearly hateful and intolerant.
We have an investigation underway.
Right, and this is intolerant
and
of every other people.
We will find all of those
there.
involved, and they will be expelled, and if criminal charges...
They'll be expelled also.
They might be expelled. And if criminal charges
that way
are
they couldn't
applicable,
reproduce.
then we will absolutely file criminal charges. It's a double standard that is more sickening as time goes on.
Okay, now to your good story. Go.
So this is just worth every minute. I love that we waited on this one to the end because I wanted to end this show on an up note.
And I have a feeling I know where this comes from.
Why?
And I don't have a fact, but at some point we may have dared Joe Biden to take over Venezuela.
Apparently, the U.S. is behind an attempted coup.
No, not the U.S.
Well, wait. Let me. In a way, though, if we want to get back to Benghazi from earlier,
okay,
you know what I mean. If this actually now, this makes a little bit more sense.
Okay,
because you have Egypt, Libya, and now Venezuela. The president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, has made a statement stating that the United States, specifically Vice President Joe Biden,
yes,
has been in charge of trying to plan a bloody coup d'etat in his country. What's his name? Maduro says that the Northern Imperial Power...
What's his name?
This guy's a joke, I can tell you that already. If you think that Biden could pull something like this off, you're a joke. The Northern Imperial Power has entered a dangerous phase of desperation, going to talk to the continent's governments to announce the overthrow of my government. And I don't know how to do a Venezuelan accent.
Yeah, I don't either.
Vice President Joe Biden of
though.
this. He's accusing Biden of trying to lead America to coup d'etat against him, a bloody coup nonetheless, because he also questioned the president, our president, publicly stating that he was aware of these plans to promote violence and a coup in Venezuela and appealed to his consciousness. There are U.S. diplomats in Venezuela contracting military officials to betray their country, looking to influence socialist political leaders, public opinion leaders, and entrepreneurs to provoke a coup, the head of state went on. The president addressed the nation on Sunday in order to strengthen his resolve several times, calling it a bloody coup, as demonstrators flooded the street demanding his resignation amid an economic crisis. This report was RT.com. So here's this president who is in Venezuela's in money problems like nobody's business. And the people literally, what form of government does Venezuela use? It can't. It must be capitalism because it's not working. Must be a free, some sort of democratic government, perhaps an elective representative government, or a republic, or something like that. It couldn't be socialism or communism or anything.
No, it couldn't because that
doesn't
work.
fail. You hear that all the
that
time.
Never fails.
Socialism works.
Never fails.
So his country is in the crapper, for lack of a better terms, economically. And actually, they only have so much money that it barely fills one up. And
a crapper.
Right. The people are starting to take to the streets, almost to the point of revolution in some people's opinions. He's making statements. His statements are just awesome. The people must be prepared to rescue their democracy. Not democracy.
What democracy?
The Constitution and their revolution. What revolution? They're about to have another revolution because people are pissed.
Right.
Their money has been piddled away. Venezuela had some money 15 years ago, and it's all gone through socialist
policies.
Let's
stop drawing that conclusion. People might.
It doesn't really matter anyhow.
Matter.
So what's his grand scheme to try to save it? Who does he blame?
Biden.
Love this.
Biden
of all people. Joe Biden. Listen, if he said it was John Kerry, if he said it was the president himself, or named a random person, the head of the CIA, whatever. Okay. But Biden? Really? The guy's not even allowed to speak except for like once every 3 months.
Well, that's because he's too busy planning a
bloody
coup in Venezuela.
How desperate do you have to be as a world leader
hang on,
to blame Biden as your downfall?
Look, Biden is such a genius that he plays like a complete buffoon while he's plotting to take over. And here's the thing. Biden knows he can't get elected here in the United States, so he's planning to overthrow the Venezuelan government so he has a country to run. That way, when he comes back to run for president again in 2020, he can say, I've got experience running a country.
I ran Venezuela for 8 years.
Yeah, I turned it around.
Well, and, it's funny. Somebody said, they brought up, Iggy in the chat room brought up the fact that Hugo Chavez is sick, the last president. And I'm sure we'll get blamed for that, too, like radiation poisoning. Or you remember like in the Russians used to do where they take the little radiation isotope in the end of the umbrella and poke people? There was I want to say it was the Georgian president who was poisoned that way. And a couple of I wonder what else he's willing to blame on us. But you are literally at the bottom of your barrel when you're digging.
And the bottom of the world, pretty much.
Right. Venezuela is almost literally at the bottom of the world.
Yeah, well, what do you think I was talking about?
I don't know. But when you're when you're trying to find a bad guy, and now of all people in the U.S. government, and I've said this time and again, I think Joe is the least harmful person in there. We may disagree with what a lot of Joe says because it's Joe,
but I still want to have a beer with him.
But I don't think Joe's as radical progressive as everybody he's surrounded with. I think that's part of the reason why he was brought into that administration to try to be the face of a little bit of balance.
I've actually changed my mind on that.
Yeah?
I think he was brought into that administration because he is a more obvious public buffoon in some of the statements he makes.
He makes Obama look
and
good.
He makes Obama look
allegedly
brilliant.
Right.
Brilliant. And I can't confirm that that's the case. Guy. But I think that's why Biden was brought in.
He's literally the walking punchline to the president.
Right.
And it fits.
It fits.
And whether or not he was hired for that reason or not, he's doing a damn good job at it.
He takes all of the heat.
He's a character actor. He's in full character right now. I mean, when this guy's done, think about his Hollywood career.
Oh, yeah.
So there you go. Joe Biden up to his old coup-causing tricks.
Okay, is Joe Biden Beavis or Butthead?
Oh, he is totally Butthead.
You think so?
The laugh. Barack. What if we overthrew
Go to Vegas to play some
Venezuela or
sluts.
something? And Obama. Yeah. Great idea. Venezuela.
This show just went downhill
so quick. I
quick.
literally just equated our head of state to Beavis and Butthead, and in sound voice. You equated it. I said it. Before you yell at me.
Okay.
I did the sound effects, though.
You did.
So when I go to the gulag, man, I'm in trouble. Hey, funny boy, do the Beavis and Butthead, funny boy.
Yeah.
I just want to be re-educated and go home.
Yay, Obama's great. Can I go home now?
Joe. Yeah, and it all started with, this is a big effing deal. And it just got worse from then.
I think it got better. I want him to be the nominee for 2016.
I wish. That's part of the reason why I want Hillary to fail so poorly.
Yes.
I want to see what he's going to say when he runs.
I want Biden to be the and if he gets elected,
I'm
not heartbroken. Our show has 4 years of material.
As an American, I'm heartbroken.
Right.
As a business owner,
I'm loving it.
Yeah. My taxes are going to suck.
He's
but
like
at least
McDonald's
I have
to me. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
I might vote for him just cuz.
He may run us out of business through taxes and stuff. However,
it'll be
as long as we're on,
great material.
We're going to be full. I mean, can you imagine Biden today with the Jordanian pilot? What his response would be? Oh, well, they lit him on fire. Oh, okay.
Let's light them bastards on fire.
Give me a flamethrower and 2 tickets to Turkey. It wasn't in Turkey. We don't know where it was. All right, get me really friggin' close.
Listen, I'm going to go light some freaking people on fire.
Put
Who's
a
coming?
torch in my back with one of the things when you fall from the sky and you don't die. Oh, parachute, right. Give me a parachute.
No, not a parachute. An anvil. I saw it on Looney Tunes.
Right,
Anvil, right?
The one with the ropes that come off.
Right.
It. And actually, that'll bring me to the ground faster so they can't even stop me on the way down.
It's like
Perfect.
stealth.
I like this. You go right to the ground with the damn flamethrower, and I'm just going to light shit on fire. for like 25 minutes. And then fishing. Who wants to go fishing afterwards?
There's no water in the
We'll find a place.
Fly me back. I'm freaking president. Fly me back.
Then you
Go
have Air
fishing.
Force One swoop in and pick me up. I've seen it where they hang the balloon and hook it, and then they drag him up into. We do that. Harrison Ford did it. I saw the movie when he was president. And
When he was president.
Off to the Mediterranean. We're gonna go get some tarpon.
Oh, God. Please, Joe, please run. And Democrats, all you please make him your nominee.
Vice President Biden, just so you know, this is the debate. Oh! I just don't want to light shit on fire.
Right. No, this is a debate. So what you're saying this is a big friggin' deal. Yeah?
Oh.
Hey, Toots, what are you doing after the show?
There is something on the Washington. Go ahead, keep going.
Mr. Vice President, that's Bryant Gumble. Yeah, whatever. Pretty freaking cute in that wig. That's not a wig. Should be a wig. You got lipstick? Make this a freaking party here in a minute.
So I've never seen this before, and I'm waiting for it to load, and I know we only have a few minutes late. Iggy, it's from the Washington Post. Iggy just linked it in the chat room. Apparently there's a Joe Biden random compliment generator where you just have a button, and it kicks out something that Joe might say.
Okay.
So give me a second. I'm trying to get this ready. It's got the best picture. It's in our chat room right now at shrmedia.com. Here's the first one. It says, you just hit a button that says, compliment me again, Joe. Hey, handsome, how are you?
That's not that funny.
You married up, son? You did real good. Hey, Dad, welcome to the old Senate. Oh, wait, this could have legs. We need to take this idea and just incorporate it into some of the things that we know Joe says when
Thank you for
nobody's
being
looking.
here. I appreciate it very much.
Oh, man. Can you imagine?
You know what I tell you know what I tell my grandkids? Take care of your grandfather. That's your most important job. No, serious, guys, till you're 30.
You're right. You know what? I look for. How about this?
Who thought of this?
Some
Why
genius.
didn't we think of this?
Because no, well, you
we
know
come
what?
up with Dare Joe Biden. They come up with this.
I think they ran this out of our ideas. I think they know that Biden's a joke and people have to jump on it. Here's what we do.
Mom, do you realize in parts of Arizona this would risk your reputation?
I want everyone to listen to me now. If Biden loses, okay, I want us to tell him he won. Have you ever seen the movie with Jim Carrey where the whole thing is an act? We set that up. The Truman Show.
Truman Show.
The Biden Show. We set the whole thing up like he was president. And just for 4 years, every day, we just watched Joe. And just throw all sorts of weird and bizarre different things at him. Like, hey, Joe, just so you know, the Canadians are invading us with codfish. Oh, damn it, codfish. All right. Get me 22 swordfish and the Omaha National Guard. You mean the Nebraska National Guard? Whatever, Omaha, Nebraska, I don't care. And we're going to put them on, do we still have Humvees? Well, we kind of got away from the Humvee thing. Fine, 18
No, wait a second. Codfish. You're talking literally or figuratively? Like, is it Captain Hook who's invading us? Like a bunch of guys dressed as Captain Hook? Because I know Peter Pan called him a codfish. Is that what we're talking about here? Hang on. Hi, Mom. Good to see you. I'm Joe Biden.
President Biden, just so you know, the economy's crashing. Well, damn it, put some airbags on that damn thing. Situation solved. Next. Just 4 years of the Biden show. Folks, that's going patent pending as well. If anyone does that, that's my idea. You stole it, and I
No. Hang on a second. That's intellectual property. You came up with that idea on the Sackheads radio show, which means that it is intellectual property for the show.
That's fine. I'll split that
which
three
means
ways.
Sacco and I.
Bring in some megabucks.
Okay, perfect.
That's
I just want to
fine.
make sure that we're on record as
absolutely
saying
fine. And then we could even put in like plans to be like his Secretary of State. Like we could have such a field day with that. That would be awesome.
And he would believe it.
Oh God, would he believe it?
But like his presidential limo is a Yugo with tinted windows
and spinners.
You say spitters?
Spinners.
Oh, I didn't know if you like chewed tobacco or something.
I may have to write that. That may have to be a
we
show.
have 40 seconds left in the show.
Thank you so much for an awesome show.
Thank you for an awesome show.
So much fun.
I thought it was a lot
of
fun.
Were back. Sacco, thank you so much for being here.
T, we thank you for
T-Bone,
being our
watch you
in-studio
at the end of the
guest
show.
tonight.
T-Bone!
Everybody say thank you to T-Bone, who's got the pimpin' sweat outfit on. I gotta say,
I wish I could look that good.
He looks like he was almost like on the NBA warm-up team or something.
We will
except
be
for he's
back
white
next
and
Wednesday at
can't
8
play
p.m.
basketball
Pacific time here on the
very
SHR
well.
Media Network.
And it's got
Make sure you
North
check
Face
out all of our great
across the
affiliates here
front.
on the SHR
And
Media
pink.
Network. Thank you so much for joining us in the chat room
It's
and
orange. I'm sorry.
in the
T corrected
podcast.
me. It's orange.
It's orange. Thank God for T correcting you.
Looks salmon. More
Check us
salmon.
out tomorrow.
Is
Starting
that
at
pink or orange?
5 p.m. for the Evan Miller Report,
orangish
followed by
pink.
the exceptional one himself. Liz Loris is up at 4 p.m. this Friday.
You know we need to sponsor the show?
Thank you so much. We really
Copenhagen.
appreciate it. Who?
Skull Copenhagen.
Oh,
we have a bunch of conservatives that follow this. We need like a Pro-Am rodeo or like
The Biden
Skull
show.
Copenhagen or the Biden or
Has
somebody
anyone
to
invented the
sponsor
Biden
this.
show yet? That sounds
No.
like it'd have legs.
You just did.
Oh, right.
It's got legs.
God damn
They're
booze.
pasty white.
He's got one flip-flop on and one sneaker, just walking around the White House.
You said sneaker? Take us out, Sacco.
Anytime you want to play that music.
Anytime,
Sacco.
Sacco. We're 40 seconds over here.
We're over. Why don't you start the theme?
It's Sacco. You have one job, Sacco. There you go. Thank you very much.
That was your song. Goodbye.